David Kidron is a tour guide who I met while touring Israel recently. He was also in the army in 1967. 1967 is famous for the Six-Day War, and I asked David how the Six-Day War started.
It started a few days after the Independence Parade, when the Egyptians brought into Sinai about 80,000 troops. And by doing so violated the agreement between Israel and Egypt, over which the Egyptians would not be allowed to keep any force in the Sinai, which was replaced by UN force. A few days later, the Egyptian President Nasser ordered the UN force to move out of Sinai, and they never acted so fast in their life. They left right away, leaving us in a situation where the Straits of Kidron have been sealed for us in our navigation along the Red Sea. Not only the Suez Canal has been always closed for us, now the only other passable way has been closed for us, which means we are disconnected completely from the African countries by trade and commerce. The city of Eilat is actually strangling. There is no way to bring over any oil into Israel or export anything from Israel to Africa and Asia, and those straits had to be opened. The idea was to open those straits, and in order to go down to the straits, one has to go down across the Sinai. There's no other way. That's how it started.
Now, it's been known as the Six-Day War. Why was it Six-Day War?
Well, the war lasted exactly 6 days. When Israel managed to destroy completely the Arab air forces on the ground before they managed to take off by a very well-planned attack, and once they were left with no air support, it wasn't that difficult any longer, although it was not a picnic. It took like 4 days to reach the Suez Canal and take over the entire Sinai. It took about 3 days to take the entire West Bank of Jordan and liberate Jerusalem and reunite it. It took like 24 hours exactly, 27 hours as a matter of fact, to take over the Golan from the 11th of June 1967 to about the end of the 26th of June 1967, and by doing so, completing this operation, the war was actually coming to an end.
Now, in 1967, in the Six-Day War, you won the old city of Jerusalem and the Golan Heights. Do you think Israel should now give back the Golan Heights, or should they keep them? Do they need to keep them?
I believe that Israel should keep the Golan Heights. It's the best guarantee for us that the situation of living under constant shelling and bombardments is not going to repeat itself. I don't think there is any world organization or any promises made or any treaty signed that can replace our being present on top of the Golan. As long as we are on top of the Golan, the Syrians are not. The day we move back, they'll be back. The other question was about Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the heart of the Jewish people. Jerusalem is the apple of the eye of the Jewish people. We have been dreaming and praying for returning to Jerusalem for 2,000 years, and we definitely understand the significance of Jerusalem to the Muslim world. We understand that Jerusalem is one of the most holiest cities in the world to the Islam, the third holiest city in the world to the Islam. We fully respect their demands for rights in Jerusalem, and I think that we should work out a system in which we'll be able to maintain our holy place that controls them. The Muslims will be able to maintain their holy place that controls them, made under an international umbrella of some kind. But I don't think that Jerusalem should ever be divided again. This was a city which was a second Berlin for 19 years, with barbed wire fences and minefields and borders. It's not a situation we'd like to see our capital return to.
Now, in 1973, Israel was forced into a war on Yom Kippur. Who came up to fight against Israel?
Well, Egypt and Syria, in a very well-planned attack. which began at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Egyptians, of course, in the Sinai, and the Assyrians in the Golan. We found ourselves being attacked in the holiest day for us as Jews. Many of the boys in the army have been sent home to spend the fasting day and the holiday with their families. We also left the Golan with a very minimal number of tanks. We found ourselves attacked in the most bitter way can be. And this was a bitter surprise to us. Although we had some intelligence reports about the possibility of a war breaking out, we probably misinterpreted some of the movements of the Arab armies on both sides, the Egyptian and the Syrian front. We, in a way, underestimated the growing in power, in training of the Arab armies. I have the feeling that as a result of the 6 Days War, we developed this sort of feeling of a Superman that is capable of doing everything. And when you think this way, you pay a price for it, and we did.
So why did the Arab nations attack Israel?
In 1973, the attack was actually to take back whatever we took from them. In 67, I remember one of the slogans of the Egyptian President Nasser after the war was, whatever was taken by force is going to be returned by force. And when the Egyptians came to the conclusion that they're not going to get the Sinai through negotiations of any kind, they refused to negotiate with Israel. They believe they're going to be returning back the territories into their lap by attacking Israel. As a matter of fact, in the very first summit meeting of the Arab countries after the 6 Days War in Khartoum, the statement which came out of this conference was no negotiation with Israel, no recognition of Israel, and no peace with Israel. Under those circumstances, naturally, when you don't talk, you don't achieve. When you don't achieve, nothing is happening. The Egyptians and the Syrians believe that they are going to be returning back those lands by force. They found us much closer to the capitals than we ever were in any other war before.
So what was the feeling amongst Israelis at the time?
It was a very mixed feeling. In the beginning, let me say, the very first few days of the war was a feeling of helplessness. It was a feeling of loss. It was a feeling that we messed up. It was a feeling that somebody's got to pay with their head for the big mistakes being made. And this definitely changed into some feeling of pride and of achievement when we realized where the new lines are being drawn, when we realized where our forces are, when we realized that we managed to push the enemy away from our land. But remember, we lost during the Yom Kippur War like 2,500 people on both fronts, maybe more, 2,600 people. This was a terrible and heavy loss for a small nation like Israel in a war which was completely unnecessary, a war which achieved nothing. Both sides did not come out with the upper end. We like to remember only the very last days of the war. The Arabs definitely want to remember the very first days of the war, when they were not very far from taking back from us most of what we took from them in 67.
So how was Israel able to win this war?
Well, we won this war because we did not have a choice. And this secret formula called no choice is what made it possible for us to win wars. We found ourselves attacked. We had to defend ourselves, and we threw into this war everything we could. And definitely the result of better training, the result of better equipment, more sophisticated, showed its results at the end.
Now I understand the Arabs had in some way a secret weapon by using their oil. What did they do with the oil?
The first time Arab countries have been using a toy we've never been using before, and use the oil boycott as a weapon against the big industrialized Western countries in order to put pressure on Israel. And I remember slogans in the streets, even of New York. When I went to the States during those years, we don't want Jews, we want oil. And this is what the world has been facing. This is what we faced. I remember the long lines of the cars waiting for odd days or even days where they could fill the tanks with oil. Definitely all this feeling that the Western countries, the industrial world, which is so used to reach out their hand and get the oil they want, not being able to because of some Arab-Jewish conflict, did not add much to the support in Israel and our popularity. We faced tremendous pressure to the point that we have been forced to return back to the old lines before the Yom Kippur War broke out, which means the lines of 1967, and this was also when we were giving back the city of Quneitra to the Syrians.
So Israel has been through many wars since then. What's your prayer for this nation, this land?
My prayer is to make sure that my children won't have to go to war again. I'm sure that my parents prayed for me not going to a war, and this was never accomplished and fulfilled. I'm praying my children not to have to go to a war. I'm very skeptic if this is going to be fulfilled. I don't know if this is destiny which brought us to the situation that we have to go to war ever so often, but my prayers are definitely that peace is going to come down to this part of the world, and that we could live our lives in peace for the benefits of everyone.